everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Ava's Dream Chronicles. I will be reading to you chapter 5. I would read to you from this journal, but I was so amateurish in my writing at this time that I'm very uncomfortable reading it to you from this book. However, I have a rewritten version here, properly written. It still has all the same events as when it occurred when I dreamed it in more detail, which you're going to love. So I believe that this dream is best described in this note that I wrote in the spiral notebook. I really could have wished I put it in one of my journals, but one of my dozens of journals, but I didn't. Oh well. So now I will read you this note. All my notes, by the way, they have this little symbol just in case I become mentally handicapped and I forget to write a note. You get it. So this dream was the start of my characters themselves and the beginning of my desire to write them down. And so I will retell the story as best I can without leaving anything out. At the time of this dream, I was 15 or 14, a time I barely even dreamed at all. Enjoy, because I sure will, just writing this down once again. So yeah, this was before I started keeping this journal. At the time I dreamed this, of course. One time, I had a dream where it is night, and the cold wind is blowing gently, rustling the thick leafy branches overhead, for there are humongous trees everywhere. I stand while messing with my hair that I had put to one shoulder, and yellow lights glow like cat's eyes from a turreted structure. The silver shield of the moon revealed itself, once a cloud uncovered it, and it cast its luminous rays on the imposing castle. It was made of a dark gray stone, and the window lights flickered and flashed as people walked past them. Few torches were set along the walls, and the castle keep was out of my vision. Now that another cloud covered the moon again, this castle was far away and downhill. I don't remember climbing this, I thought. I looked down at my feet. Why am I wearing leather boots? For at this time I didn't own any pairs. I soon discovered, looking down, that I had a sword. I was dressed like a medieval peasant man. My tunic was a dark blue, and it was linen with a green cord to lace it up. My pants were a brown cloth, and a leather belt, and leather medieval boots, and a sword shining in a shining sheath. But I touched the hilt. Is this mine? I thought. I suddenly felt as if I had sold Madeline's or Lorenzo's pretend swords, but this was not Madeline's or Lorenzo's. My attention was soon diverted. I heard something as I turned around quickly to the foresty area. Come on, this man said, and he looked like he was in a hurry, partially in the trees and away from the slope. In the slope I was next to that led to the castle. There were more men in the trees, and they were moving. Oh gosh, do I really need to go into these dark woods when this strange man tells me to, like an idiot? Oh dear God, I hope this is right. He said, Why did you stop? Come on, he said gruffly, and then turned around and ran into the woods. I turned to the castle and then back to the woods, trying to make up my mind. And so with one hand tightly gripping my sword's handle, and a final glance at the magnificent structure, I hurried as fast as I could after the man. Sounds of many hurried footsteps passed over the brush and leafy ground. I came close to the man. He saw me and said, Be quiet, not a word out of you. In the moonlight, I saw that he was a big guy. He carried a much bigger sword than me. He seemed around his 40s. Then I realized as we traveled that I was a part of a group, maybe comprised of 30 or 40 men. Torches apparently were given to a few, and everyone is very medieval and dressed to fight. I saw a shorter man. I went up to him and tried to say something. Be quiet, what part of stealthy don't you understand? He said. I backed off and continued moving deeper into the woods. Then I heard shouting and dogs barking. Who goes there? A man dressed like a medieval soldier held a torch and many leashes with 5 vicious dogs barking maniacally at us all. He was about 10 feet away from me, and one of our party rushed behind him just as he released his big dogs on us, with devilish fangs glistening in the moonlight, and rushed to me, so I gave one huge kick in the dog's teeth, kind of freaking out. I started running away, and as I did, that helmeted soldier was fighting too, and more soldiers showed up. Use your sword, some guy shouted to me. I took it out. I found out it was heavy. Ah, it's heavy, I said. And I dug the tip into the big black fighting dog as hard as I could and then pulled it out and it writhed. I kicked it again and arrows whizzed past me. So I turned and ran toward my group. Protect the hero, my group said as they fought the guards. I was still holding my sword, and so I helped to kill a few soldiers. There was one soldier who was getting the better hand of this younger member, so I stabbed him from behind, and the guy finished him off. Turning around for a bit, the fighting was soon over, and for a while, and there were no more shouts or barking dogs, and we pushed deeper into the woods. Finally, we came to a clearing where those with torches assembled, and the rest of the party gradually emerged. This good-looking young man approached somebody and asked, "Eric, where's the hero?" And Eric shook his head. And this good-looking man wore dark clothing that partially concealed the blood splatter and walked away. I went to the guy named Eric. He had a round face and watched me approach, and yes, I spoke quietly. "Who's the hero?" he said simply. "We're supposed to protect him so he could fight his uncle." I thought so hard. "What a dumb name," I said. Eric said, "Just wait till you see him, but it has to be him to defeat the tyrant." Another, older guy asked Eric where he was, but Eric didn't know. Finally, a big burly man carrying an unsheathed sword and dressed in gray shouted, There are 10 unaccounted for, but let's not lose hope and keep moving." But I found that good-looking young man trying to find the hero, but I had gotten confused. "Are you the hero who needs to fight the uncle?" he said. "No, but the hero is somewhere over there. See him for yourself since you don't know what he looks like." And he gestured to someone sitting on the ground a few feet away. "Vincent!" An older man came by and handed Vincent a torch, which he used to bring light to the hero. I will try to explain exactly what this hero looked like. First off, I don't know why he was sitting. There were people looking for him. He seemed 16 to 17-ish. His straw blonde hair was unwashed and knotted into an unattractive medieval page boy hairstyle that was painfully parted and ran down to his shoulders. I compared him to the people around him. He had bad acne on his cheeks and forehead with dark blemishes. The hero's sword was clean, stabbed into the ground, and why was this dude wearing yellow? This was probably the worst color to take an unassuming person seriously, and were it not for his acne, his light complexion and straw hair would blend into it. Would blend into the banana-hued tunic. "That's the hero?" I said and pointed at him. This time nobody shushed me, but the hero looked at me strangely and he touched his chin. I was closer to him now and I said, cringing, "Don't touch your face! That's why you have acne!" Now his expression changed and his brows became furrowed. "Who are you?" he said, but then he turned and then stood to acknowledge a big man wearing something reddish who was trying to get his attention. So I walked away thinking, so hard. We're supposed to protect that guy? And why did my hair always seem in the way today? It seemed itchier than usual. But then again, I wasn't the only person having a bad hair day. Nobody else besides the hero had that haircut. They only had short hair. So why did he have a medieval haircut? Well, there was no time to think because we started moving again and there were less of us by now. I felt like I could trust the group, or at least the remainder of it. My sword glinted in the torchlight. I had never put it away, and I quite liked it. It was engraved in spirals and simple knots. In the middle of the group was that hero, and I witnessed him run into a tree, regain his senses, and keep walking. The big guy next to him tried to ignore it, at first, but then he put a hand on his shoulder and shook him, saying, "We can only get you so far as your uncle, but we did not discuss protecting you from yourself." I was behind the hero near a guy with a torch. This guy was in dark green, had rather chubby features with a rounded nose. He said to me, "The hero spoke to you?" I shook my head. "Not really," I said. "But who's that guy?" I pointed at Vincent. He said, "I don't really know him, but everyone here has been the hero's friend at some point. Vincent is one of his oldest friends. I'm Connor." I nodded in response. The landscape started changing. Less trees and more rocks. There were more soldiers we ran into, and it was every bit as violent as the first confrontation. I only killed 2, though. The 40 of us continued traveling, and finally, if you were to look up, there were imposing mud-red granite rockside, cleft out of a mountain that seemed to stand in our way. The stars twinkling covered the view of the mountainside with a light chilly coating. The jagged edges looked intimidating. A group of men's voices were heard, so I pushed my way through some trees to find Vincent saying to the hero, "I'm not doubting you, but are you certain your uncle's in that cave?" The hero, terrible looking as he was, nodded, saying, "In that cave, yes, I'm certain he's in the caves. We'll have to find him inside. Just assist me once more, and I will take care of obliterating this evil man from this godforsaken land." One big man in blue with salt pepper hair said, "And afterwards, lower the taxes, will ya? Let's just climb." And we made it closer to the rock side, when large caves high on the formation became apparent. I don't remember climbing them. I just watched them climb for a while, and then all of a sudden I was on the rock as well. So I just started climbing. Then I was on the top. Then I was on the ledge when we finally finished. There was, excuse me, I was one of the last ones up, but there was a path cut into the rock that led to a lit cave. I don't know, but the guys went in there, swords drawn, and so I ran to the humongous red cave entrance when I saw about 30 soldiers, and they were so intimidating. First off, it's a cold night, and no words were exchanged as our group rushed in and began to fight. The surprised soldiers wore rounded steel helmets with nose guards and padded clothes. I would want to say that the fight was probably something epic, but it was not. And even though we beat them, the end result was a room full of dead people, and 10 of us were either dead or dying. One member of our group picked a wounded soldier up and said, "Where is he? Where is the Lord?" And the soldier, who had a black mustache, split blood and snarled, "Go to hell." But I had enough of that, so I picked my way through the severed limbs in the middle of the cave and followed everyone into the next cave. I couldn't stop pulling my hair, which I realized, much to my horror, that I could grab a movable piece of my own hair from my face that was fastened to my head by a string. I'm wearing a beard? I pulled my scruffy, bushy, brown, curly beard to my neck. It looked a lot like that. Like, my hair used to be longer and I could make myself a beard. I cut it short this past month, and yeah, I can't do it anymore. But it was the same type of hair. So, to my neck, and felt very, very insecure about it while everyone was running to another cave. I was partially panicking and walked very fast. What did people think of me? What would Madeline think of me? Why was I the only girl here? Yes, that had to be it, I reasoned to myself. I don't want to let everybody know I was a girl. That's why I'm wearing this itchy beard. I'm so smart. I worry too much. So I ran up the rocks and ran to a moonlit pathway to yet another soldier-infested cave. The fight was almost over because there was hardly anybody there. I heard more shouts of people asking where the hero's uncle was, and the hero said, exiting the cave, looking very bloody, how certain he was that he was here. And the hero ran off into the next cave with his panicked companions running after him. These were developed caves, and they weren't jagged or rough at all on the inside. And there were stands for spears and lighting, and barrels and wooden benches. And the path on this side of the mountain was wider, and this time I caught up and stepped towards the front. "How many caves are there?" I shouted to the hero. Some other guy said, "I knew this was going to happen. We should have taken my way to get to the 5th cave." The hero said, "I wasn't expecting all of them to be full." "5th one!" I shouted. My voice sounded so shrill compared to theirs. I felt so tired all of a sudden. Here was our 3rd cave, now which was more dimly lit, excuse me, it looks like but it says 15. There were around 15 enemy in there, but I was in the middle of severing a wounded soldier's neck when the hero leaves for the 4th cave before running back accompanied by more enemies chasing him. It was chaotic and stressful. Were we losing? I recognized someone named Eric, looking very frustrated, shouting at the hero, "Don't you ever leave like that again." At one point, I ran away scared, but then I felt cowardly and started to fight again like everyone else. And then it was over. And looking around, there were these openings. It looked like doors to tunnels. But they were all the way in the back, and nobody was that interested in them. And then all was over, and there were just 10 of us left. Before I had actually had time to count who was dead and who had gone missing, they exited and went to the 4th cave, and I ran to catch up with them. Of course, all it was just more chaos. Don't ask me how it happened. I can't explain it. There's no way to explain it. There was so much chaos, but eventually, only me and the hero are left. It's just us? I said, motioning to the cave in the aftermath. He ignored me and exited the cave, except I didn't know this. I was kind of panicking. Then I turned around and he wasn't there. Hey, you're not supposed to leave like that. But I caught up with him and I said, you don't know what's in the last cave. It really is just us two, and we are no match for whatever army is behind those doors. For there were large double doors in the rock, and he said, what choice do I have? If everyone else is gone, then finding my uncle is the only thing I have left. I have nothing to lose. But you don't even know what you're doing here, do you? I snapped. You don't know what you're doing. You, the hero, such a weird name, are gonna walk in there and die. Your friends fought so well and they're gone. He said, if you're giving up, just go, but I'm not. And then the hero, whose face was so painful to look at, rammed himself against the doors and opened it. It stayed open as he entered, and I watched after him and entered too. A figure in the middle of the room turned around, and 2 guards on either side of the cave started to approach the hero. This figure held his hand up and stopped them. He was dressed in a mud-red long shirt that had a black coat, dark pants, and that was fastened with a Celtic belt, and a long, impressive sword that was hanging from it. The hero said to him, Uncle, I've come to stop you. The uncle, who seemed disinterested at first. His features were similar, I guess, to the hero's, but the uncle had a short beard that covered his features, and so I could only compare the top half of his face to the hero's. But then, as I thought this, I stopped when I realized that we could probably die right here. Not looking at the hero, the uncle took 2 meandering steps and smiled. Where are the rest of your companions, you little twit? The hero was silent. I stepped in, I raised my hand, but I withdrew to the left of the cave to watch them. Do we detain him now, my lord? The guard said. Not just yet, the hero responded. I'm mildly impressed by his foolhardiness. You two, stand and watch in the back. Come out when I need you. The guards obeyed, and the uncle unsheathed his sword, and the sound of it rang with the glassy chime within the cave, and he held it up and looked at his reflection. He said, It is a fight you want, and I will give it to you. The uncle turned around sharply and blocked the hero's sword that the hero had swung at him, and they fought and made metal sparks fly, and it was very exciting. But I had no hope. In fact, I was trying not to despair, because the hero's form was sloppy. This was another reason I didn't want him to fight. Sure, their swords went crash, crash, and swing, swing, but that evil uncle could have beaten him at any time. I could tell the hero was trying his very hardest, but I was whispering to myself, we're gonna die. We're gonna die. Oh no, I'm going to join the list of forgotten bodies killed in this cave. Ooh, wrong move, I said, wincing at the fight. Yeah, that's it, I said. Once the hero regained his composure and struck again at his enemy. My gosh, I thought, why did he choose yellow of all colors? I finally thought so hard. I had a vague awareness of the dream. I went behind a humongous rock to reason with myself about the despair I was in about dying. Crash, crash went their swords. Golden torchlight illuminated the tan and jagged, chunky baguette of a rock that had a shelf carved into it. It stuck straight up, and the formation was of a stalagmite that had been chipped away at deliberately. Several of these rocks were in the cave, but I leaned my back against this one. I slid down to sit. I can't die. I just can't. I touched my fuzzy beard. And why am I still wearing this? I am not dying in this beard. I took it off and threw it aside, where it fell with a puff. This is my dream. I got up suddenly. I peered behind to check up on the fight. I just can't die. But if I do, I want to drink first. And I felt like I should have a drink, because I wanted to die calm and collected. Suddenly, the shelf on the rock had a clinking sound coming from it, and I darted to the shelf to behold an engraved, gleaming crystal bottle filled with amber liquid. A small whiskey glass was placed beside it, precariously close to the edge. Just what I need, I said, and I grabbed the neck of the bottle and poured a fiery glass of courage into the whiskey bottle. I drank it. Good whiskey, I said. I wonder why I only have it on Easter. Oh, right, I said. That would be bad. I went around to the other side of the rock to watch. They were still at it. I brought the ice-cold bottle with me. The hero made small cuts on his enemy, and likewise with the uncle. The hero finally made an impressive sword move, and I gestured with my now empty glass. Ooh, get him, get him! But the uncle recovered. I slowly poured myself another glass. This sword was toying with him. What a blessing that I get to drink whiskey before I die. Oh man, what do I tell my parents? Oh right, I can't tell them anything. I'll be dead. And a heavy, hot feeling of my impending doom swelled in my chest. How much do I drink before I'm drunk? I hope my parents won't be able to tell I've been drinking alcohol when they find my body. Should I go help the hero with his uncle? This wasn't really my fight. I dropped my glass, which broke, and drank straight from the bottle. You will gain nothing from this. I'm merely fighting you because I feel sorry for you, giving you some satisfaction of having made such a journey. The uncle teased him, but this made the hero fight better. So for a few moments the uncle actually had to defend himself, and I was watching breathless enough that I stopped drinking. I've had enough of this, the uncle yelled frustrated, and delivered a blow to the hero on the chest with the handle of his sword, and then stepped forward and punched the hero's face. The hero dropped his sword. It clattered, landing on the ground. The uncle, who was taller, grabbed his enemy's neck and threw him to the ground, and they struggled, but the uncle called, "Guards! Guards!" At that instant, the hero dropped his sword. The instant the hero dropped his sword was the instant I dropped my crystal bottle, shattering on the cave floor, and I ran to try and help. But this cave was very large and grand, and as I tried to run to help, someone grabbed me. 2 guards came and picked the hero up once the uncle had finished punching and slapping him. The guards all looked like the first ones I had encountered in the woods. The guards picked the hero up, who lay half unconscious on the ground. The uncle took a few seconds looking at him. Then he took his sword and tapped the hero's limp head with the flat end of it. Tap, tap. "Wake up," he said, and his nephew started up to see the uncle's sword in his chest. "I have failed," he said. "And miserably so," Uncle responded. And then he said to the guards, "You know where to take him." The uncle turned around to see me. "Them," he corrected himself. "Put them with the others. I will deal with them later." I was held by 2 guards on either side of me. Now a third one came up with rope and tied me up. They were tying the hero up too. There were around maybe 8 guards in all. The uncle looked aloof, but watching and pacing around. He had put his sword away and footed the sword that the hero had dropped. Before I knew it, me and the hero were led to the back of the cave, tied in hempen rope, and I couldn't see where we were going. I could hear the torches burning, and the current of the firelight swaying over the cave. The hero was led first into the tunnel to God knows where. I actually felt very guilty looking at him. I tried to look back at the uncle, but a guard pushed me to go forward with a rough, gloved hand. We went through a long, winding tunnel. After a while of rude comments from the big guards that I didn't bother writing down, and many large steps, we came to a staircase going down, down, down. Presently, we passed a couple of entryways. Why did the stone change? It was a dark gray stone now. Eventually, the 8 guards led us to the dungeon, but I didn't bother looking at the other cells because the one they were leading us to was probably the biggest. Not that I would have known, because I mentioned here how I didn't even look. Odd. "Open it up, we have 2 more," one shouted to the jailer, and the jailer unlocked a wide-arched, metal-grated, black iron cell door. With some keys, and quick as a flash, the guards tried to restrain the hero, who started to struggle. But as he was trying to get away from his guards, the rest of the tall men grabbed me by the ropes on my arms and tossed me into the cell. For an instant, I was flying like an unaerodynamic sack of potatoes that thumped heavily and unceremoniously onto the ground. And I heard and saw people in the cell as well. The next moment, the hero came flying in as well. He fell with more of a thud and the sudden cry of "oof" sitting on the ground. Some clouds of dust billowed up in the air when he landed. Some figures approached. Now I struggled to get out of the ropes. "See, Don, what did I tell you? He lived. You owe me that mule." Don said. They approached and untied the hero and me. "That is not the right attitude to have. He lived after all." The face of Eric came into view. I couldn't see half of their faces because it was so dark, but their voices were the same voices of the group. Most were on their feet now, and we tossed our ropes aside. How many of us are here? The hero asked wearily, standing amongst them. Vincent, who looked so much cooler than the hero ever could, said, "There are 30 of us left. Half are wounded." Someone short with even paler hair than the heroes said, "And we are all scheduled to be hanged in the morning." "You know the uncle doesn't work like that," a big man with a wounded leg said, sitting on a crate. "The uncle leaves people to rot here for a few months before executing them." I said, "Why did they just put us all together in one cell?" The short blonde guy with the squat nose said, "But I heard them. They said that they—" But someone interrupted. It was Vincent who said, "Gavin's right. Regardless of what their plans are, we have to escape and as fast as we can. We already know that that's not impossible." Everyone turned their heads to this one guy with red hair. "Come on," they said to him, but the red-haired guy looked uncertain. "You were here last time. Do what you did." "I was in another cell," he said, "that was built differently. What I did wouldn't work here." But as there were different shaped crates around the oval-shaped cell, and as they discussed their ideas which I couldn't understand half of what they were saying. Eric, who had brown smeared across the stocky features of his face, sat on the crate and said, "I have an idea." The guys listened and hushed when he repeated himself. And it might not work, but I read a lot of stories, and in a story like this, you have to make the jailer's daughter fall in love with you." Some of them laughed nervously, but something clanked against the bars of our cell, just as one of the men said, "Ridiculous idea. I doubt a jailer would even let his daughter into a place like this, if he even has one." Another clank sound, and everyone hushed. And one by one, each slowly turned their head to the figure. With a set of rusted jail keys in her fat palms as she stood behind the cell door. The big black mole on her face creased partially inside her double chin, turned up in a crooked, open, toothy smile with doubly crooked butter-colored teeth. Oh, excuse me. Her hawk nose highlighted her rusty eyes, matching her curled, rust-colored hair that fell about her wide shoulders and upon her industrial, pink tent-sized dress that was fastened with a leather barrel hoop, with more keys hanging from it. She was tall, taller than any of the men imprisoned in this cell, and taller than any of the soldiers and guards. With wide eyes and ringed hands grasping the bar, she smiled at the hero, saying, "I know the story." They were saying in a silky voice, "I know the story." There were hushed whispers all at once. The hero grew scared and hid among his friends. "Go talk to her," said Eric. "Come on, it's worth at least trying," the others agreed with Eric. The hero said, "I'm not going to speak and flirt with that. Why can't it be any of you?" He turned his head this way and that at everyone. "You go flirt with her." He gestured randomly at one guy with angular features and dark blue clothes. "Come on," the big man sitting on a crate said. "If Eric heard this from a story where you're the hero in it, then this is your job. Now go, win her heart." The hero looked to Vincent, who just shook his head and said, "It wouldn't be my approach, but the jailer's daughter is right there." It would be stupid to not try it. "Are we all in agreement?" Gavin asked. We said yes, and the hero crouched. The older guy rose from his crate. I guess he was crouching to hide. But the older guy rose from his crate, grabbed the hero, lifted it up, and Eric pushed the hero from behind and towards the cell door, where the 30-ish-year-old looking woman was waiting patiently. The hero stumbled towards her, looking flustered. He tucked some of his long hair behind his ear. "Ugh, he's so ugly with that hair," I thought so hard. Eric's voice rang out. "Speak to her," he said. And the hero turned him quickly and mouthed desperately, "I don't know what to say." But he turned quickly back at the woman and raised his yellow sleeves, standing crooked, and simply uttered aloud, "Hi!" The jailer's daughter wrung her hands in infatuation and squealed like a pig. It made me feel pain in my dreams. I was embarrassed to hear her, and the hero was tormentedly awkward. And the two of them made such an ugly picture. Before the hero could say anything, words started gushing from her mouth in a voice that tried to sound quiet, her rusty hair flicking this way and that, almost flickering along with the torchlight itself. She said, I heard everything, and yes, I'm really the jailer's daughter, and I've always wanted to meet you. You and yours, that is. You are smaller than I thought you would be, and younger too. She squinted at him. No matter. I believed you were about to tell me how pretty I was. She smiled, and he looked absolutely sick. He said unconvincingly, you are very pretty. And she laughed so hard, and finished wiping her tears, and she said, I will help you escape. There isn't any need for insincere flattery as that to get me to do something, for I know that what you stand for is good, and I hate the Lord and what he has done to our land. You see, good sir, I mean, the hero. I would unlock this door and let you all out, but all the entryways and exits are heavily patrolled. By now we had all gathered to the cell door as she spoke from it. But do not despair, for there is an exit right in this room. Right under your very noses, sir, should I say, above it. And she pointed to the ceiling and explained while circling her finger in a particular area. There was once a very wealthy lord. I'm sure you have heard of him, but is imprisoned in this very cell soon after your uncle came into power. And he paid to have a tunnel constructed leading outside of the dungeon and straight to freedom. So he requested upon his arrest to be placed in this cell, whereupon he escaped the next day. My father gave your uncle a different story explaining his escape. Otherwise you would have never been placed in here. The hero said, Is it not dangerous for you to speak as thus? She said, Don't worry about me. You need to go. I will be fine, but remember me as your friend when you and your companions fulfill what you have sought out to do and restore peace to this land. The hero said, Thank you, my lady. You will be in our hearts, and we will never forget your bravery or kindness. She smiled again and said, Don't you mean to call me your beloved? Your sweetheart? Oh, you are a cruel lover. You shouldn't want to leave me here, pining and pouting with an aching heart. And she laughed so sarcastically. But what she said was true. In the grainy rock ceiling was a panel that the men on each other's shoulders removed and revealed a narrow tunnel cut in the rock, and by the time we were escaping, I woke up. I will now show you the pictures. This is just a childish sketch of the castle that they were running from. I don't know. But there's me standing on the edge of that ravine looking at the castle. I was not that close, by the way. Scary moon. Not just any moon, it's a scary moon. And some random cliffs. This is a picture of the sword. It wasn't that round, and I kind of messed up the pattern, but it was really cool. I wish I had it. This is a pitcher with liquor, or whiskey, or whatever. So gonna make this my thumbnail. Me with the beard, me without the beard. And finally, the dungeon doors. The dungeon. I am not ready to show y'all the sketch I have of the actual hero because he appears very, very often in my dreams now. I don't know whether I know some people can lucid dream. I can only do that partially. And so but even so, his age grows with me. His age changes every time passes. Like with me, I don't know, he looked like a teenager when I first met him as a young teen, but now he's in his 20s now, so I don't know. So I'm not comfortable sharing that sketch I have of him now because it was made recently. He's in his 20s, and yeah, his face features kept changing. Well, dream characters' features usually change because they're based off of the people you see around you. And I will tell you this, he was based off of an actor who I had a crush on when I was little, but this guy doesn't meet my expectations when I actually dream about him. So he's like a whole nother character and a whole nother person than from the crush on the actor that I had in this medieval role he took. I will share that in the comments if y'all are willing to if y'all want to find out. It's something I'm not self-conscious about. But I hope you all enjoyed that, and be sure and please consider liking and subscribing to my videos. The next video I have, I will probably tell y'all as an interpretation because, like I said, these dreams are poorly written in my opinion. And who knows, maybe I will issue booklets based on these chapters. So yeah, thank you for your support, if I have any. And I will see you next time.